The war in Ukraine has taken another turn. It may have reached the doorstep of Moscow. In the last 24 hours, the action has shifted to Russia. Some suspicious events have raised eyebrows. Yesterday, Russia detected some drones. One of these drones crashed near Moscow. Russia says it's a Ukrainian drone. It crashed near Moscow. 2 more were shot down in the south. And there was activity in the north too. The airspace of St. Petersburg was closed. All flights were suspended. 24 hours later, conflicting accounts are still emerging. Some reports say there was a drone in the sky. Others claim there was a missile attack warning, a false alarm triggered by hackers. So a lot of activity. We've not been able to verify any of these claims. But was Ukraine behind this? Did it attempt a drone attack on Russia? Kiev has not taken responsibility. But Russia is not leaving anything to chance. Vladimir Putin is strengthening his country's defenses. He has issued new orders. Putin wants his officers to tighten control of the Ukrainian border. The Russian president is also mobilizing the FSB, the Federal Security Service. It's the intelligence gathering arm of the Russian state.
The Russian-Ukrainian section of the state border should be under the special control of the FSB border service. A grouping is currently deployed there, which includes units of border agencies, FSB aviation, and armed forces and the National Guard. Your task is to put a barrier in the way of sabotage groups to stop attempts to illegally transport weapons and ammunition into Russia.
On the ground, the Russian offensive is intensifying. It is the first day of spring in Ukraine, which means weather conditions are set to improve. Russian soldiers plan to make the most of it. They're launching relentless attacks on Bakhmut. The fighting is underway. A Ukrainian soldier sent this message to the Russians today.
We won't give up Bakhmut. We will hold on to it until the very last. Glory to Ukraine. Death to the enemies. Thank you.
So Ukrainian forces are digging in. What about their president, Volodymyr Zelensky? He's increasingly sounding cautious. He says the fighting is becoming more intense.
The hardest thing is still Bakhmut and the battles that are essential for the city's defense. I'll give you just one example. We're holding the staff meeting quite often now, at least twice a week. The last meeting was on Thursday. And today, General Syrskyi reported that since the last meeting, about 800 enemies had been killed in his direction alone. Russia does not count people at all, sending them to constant assaults on oppositions. The intensity of the fighting is only increasing.
Meanwhile, Putin has also found a new enemy: foreign words. The Russian president wants his officials to speak and write in pure Russian. They cannot mix up words from another language. Putin has implemented a new law for this. It doesn't spell out any punishments yet. The Russian president is projecting confidence. It seems he's confident about finding success on the battlefield. And some friends could step up to help, which brings me back to China. It is hosting a very important guest, Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus and Putin's main ally. Lukashenko is on a 3-day visit to Beijing. He was invited by President Xi Jinping himself.
There are no off-limits topics for our cooperation. We cooperate in all directions. And the main thing is that we, the People's Republic of China and Belarus, have never set out the goal to be friends or work against third countries, against anyone.
So China is clearly eyeing a bigger role in this conflict. It began with a proposed peace plan. Now Lukashenko is in Beijing, and soon Xi Jinping could be paying a visit to Moscow. It could happen next month. China has some clear goals here. It wants to have a say in the peace process, and more importantly, it wants to enhance its own stature. India, too, is trying to get in a word. This week, the world's attention is on New Delhi. It is hosting an important meeting. The foreign ministers of the G20 are holding talks in India, and this is very significant because India has a unique opportunity. The top diplomats of the US and Russia are in New Delhi. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, both of them are attending the G20 meeting in person. And India deserves credit for this. The US and Russia are arch rivals. The Ukraine war has only made their relationship worse. Both Blinken and Lavrov could come face to face. They haven't been in the same room since July last year. So there is opportunity here. The Chinese foreign minister will be in New Delhi too. Like I said, India has a unique position, but can it build consensus? It's hard to say. Last week, India hosted the finance ministers of the G20. That meeting ended without any consensus. There was no joint statement. This meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. We're waiting for the outcome.